All right, let's record here. Any more questions here before we get started? We're going to finish up here now. Uh, ch- uh, Chapter two we finished yesterday, but there's some items still in chapter two at the end. We got some math problems and a little video here. So I'm sorry, chapter one. So we're gonna before we get started in chapter two. So we're going to go over that right now. We just went over those questions. 19 at the end of chapter one, which letter A, we crossed out the words prior to, because prior to May 1st, it makes that's April 30th. So the correct answer, let's select, is D, April 30th of the renewal year for question 19 at the end of the chapter. All right, just wanted to get that on video there. Okay.
That's sorry, Victor. That six
Sure.
years thing is mentioned on page number 8,
It
second
is.
paragraph. Yeah.
Let's take a look.
Second
Question,
paragraph, last line.
question eight, second paragraph. Oh, a broker who goes out of business. Oh, look at that. What was that late related to? License transfers and terminations. Okay, continued on the next page, page eight. Um, broker, let's see, must notify the commission that a licensee is signed or has terminated from their firm within 5 business days of the effective date of their resignation or termination. Furthermore, the license cannot be activated by their new employing broker until the termination has been processed by the commission. So, in other words, if you quit, they use this harsh sounding terminology. If you quit the brokerage or you get fired, it's not necessarily you got fired. You quit, you want to move somewhere else. They have to terminate your affiliation of your license with that brokerage firm. So when they say termination, it's not like your license is getting terminated. It's the affiliation of your license with that brokerage firm is terminated. So then the broker logs in online, they terminate it. It's got to populate in the database that change overnight it takes, and then it doesn't happen instantly. And then the next day, your other broker that you want to go to can log in and then pull your license into their brokerage firm. So, but your broker that you're leaving can't has to do it within 5 days. That's a reasonable amount of time for them to log in and be able to, um, terminate your license with them upon your request. They can't hold you hostage. You hold your license hostage where you can't work. Um, uh, for whatever reason, okay, for retaliatory reasons or whatever it is. Okay, and then the next sentence you said there, the broker who goes out of business must close the account, remove signs, notify clients, and provide the commission with the name and address where the past records will be available for 6 years. There you go. Um, hmm. These sound like they could possibly be exam questions too, so it may not be a bad idea to highlight them. I know I have record keeping stuff in a later chapter, but maybe I'll add a slide here about this. So let me take a screenshot of that and I'll add it as a slide. There you go. All right. All right, gang. Now let's just finish up with the slideshow here for the chapter end of chapter one that we had with this guy Ryan Serhant from Million Dollar Listing Agent. Let's watch and see what he has to say about setting your goals, about how much money you want to make in the coming year, what you would have to do. You got to know what the average price of a home is in the area, what the commission is, that based on the commission that you charge as well. And based on that, you can try to set your goals of how many listings, how many sales you got to do, how many transactional sides you need to do in order to meet those goals of 50,000, 100,000, 150, whatever it is that you want to make per year. Set realistic goals at the beginning, and then go from there. So let's see. Oh, I have to, when I play videos, I have to optimize it for video sharing here. And let's use the computer sound so that you get the right sound. Okay, here we go.
I sold over $4 billion worth of real estate over the last couple years. But what does that really mean? How much real estate agents actually make? Hello, all you beautiful people. A few things before we get started. Yes, the book is still strapped to my damn hand. If you could please pre-order Big Money Energy. My new book comes out February 2nd. I wrote it during quarantine. Link is in the caption. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The little thingy right here. Really, really, really important. I love you so much. Like, all that, send this to your friends. Most of you probably know me from Million Dollar Listing New York on Bravo, a show I've been on for nearly 10 years. And on that show, they show me making money. The show is about selling property, personal life, and all that, but it's always capped by sale price, commission. And people see it, and they're like, whoa, $2 million commission, $600,000 commission, wow, 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 wow. But it doesn't go into the splits, doesn't go into the taxes, doesn't go into the marketing fees, doesn't go into all the little details that break out that entire commission dollar amount. And so I want to bring some clarity to all of you who might be thinking about getting into this business, because this is the greatest business in the world. And until a house can figure out how to sell itself to another house, there will always be a need for real estate agents. Now, let me state the obvious. New York City real estate is very different from the rest of the world. Our average price point in New York is just over $1 million for maybe a room this exact size. The rule of thumb in New York is you're paying about $1 million a bedroom. Now, obviously, we've sold things that are much, much, much more expensive. We just sold a 3-bedroom for $36 million. And there's also things that are much, much, much less expensive. But on average, that's the way you work. The rest of the United States, the average home sale price is just under $300,000. So commission amounts obviously vary, and you have to sell a lot more in other places to be able to make nearly as much as real estate agents make in New York City. But keep in mind, the splits that real estate agents in New York have with the house, so the main brokerage, are a lot lower than what you'll find in the rest of the country, and for good reason. There are massive expenses in New York. Do you have any idea how much it costs, not just to live in New York City, but how much it costs to operate a business in New York City? It's very, very, very expensive. So for all of you who are not yet in the real estate business and you're thinking about it, but you're nervous because you know there's no salaries and everything is commissioned and you have bills and you have loans, you have life to pay for, I want to walk you through exactly how the numbers work, okay? So let's say you sell something for $1 million. The average commission in the United States, including New York City, is 2.5%. Now, sometimes if you represent both sides of the deal, if you're in a state where you can do that, you can get 5% or 4% or 3%, whatever you negotiate with that seller or whatever you've negotiated with that buyer going into that deal. But more often than not, in the United States, the seller is paying a commission that is pre-negotiated with the seller's agent. The seller's agent then lists that property for sale in the MLS. By the way, in New York, no MLS. I know, it's crazy. And they advertise what the commission percentage is that they are willing to then pay the buyer's agent. So most often, the selling agent goes to the seller and says, we can list it for X amount, so let's say $1 million, and the commission is gonna be 5%. Because there's most likely going to be a buyer's agent and we need to pay 2.5 to them and 2.5 to us, and we split it 50-50. So let's say you're bringing the buyer. Okay? You bring the buyer and it's an amazing place, well priced, you jump on it, you get it for the $1 million, boom. Commission on $1 million listing would then say $25,000. Now, if you're a brand new agent, most real estate brokerages start their agents on a 50-50 split, meaning for every dollar you bring in, the brokerage gets 50% of that. And again, for good reason. They're helping you, they're training you, they're providing leads a lot of the time. They're giving you all the resources, everything, so that you don't have to come out of pocket. Remember, everyone needs to make a living. And the less the brokerage makes off of you, the less they're gonna help you. So $25,000 then is split in half if that's the split with the brokerage. So that's $12,500, and that goes to you. Now, If there were marketing costs, marketing fees that are taking off the top, maybe you had to get a taxi or some other expense and the brokerage paid it for you so you didn't have to come out of pocket, that then gets deducted. Other real estate brokerages have desk fees, they have lead generation fees. So make sure you know when you sign up with your brokerage to be very, very clear as to what fees, costs, and expenses you are going to be responsible for, both upfront and what will be deducted from your check. I have agents who reach out to me every day who got into the business because of me, flattered, thank you, who say, hey, I just sold my first place. I was supposed to get $3,000, but I got $2,252 and all these things taken out. This is bullshit. Sirhan, have you ever dealt with this? Yeah, that's how the business works. Now, if you've only sold one place and you sold it for $1 million and you're a brand new agent and you're split with your brokerages 50-50, then all you're gonna make that whole year is $12,500. And if you don't have any other marketing expenses, that's great. Your check will be for $12,500. Boom, bang, models and bottles. Hold the phone. Now remember, there's also taxes. One of the big things that independent contractors, which all of us in the United States and most of us in the world, forget, net after taxes, costs, and expenses. Remember that. You live in the net. You don't live in the gross, you live in the net. That was important for me to remember too when I first got into the business. One of my first checks ever was for $24,000. And I was like, dude, I can do anything now. Smarts come a lot later, especially when your tax accountant then says to you, oh, hey, by the way, we need X amount of dollars. And you're like, from where? From you. But I don't have that. If you're in New York, it's upwards of 50%. So make sure you understand what your income tax liability is in every single state. One of the reasons I love this business so much is that everything is in your control, which is good and bad, right? The good is that you can sell as much as you want. No one is ever gonna tell you that you've sold too much real estate. The way you're gonna make the most money isn't by just selling one home, it's by selling lots of homes. I haven't sold billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of real estate because I sit there and count every single commission check and every single expense. I focus on goals. Let's say you want to get to $100,000 in income by year 2 or 3, okay? How are we gonna do that? Let's break it down by how much you need to actually sell. So if the average home sales price in the United States is just under $300,000, let's say $300,000, okay? The average commission is 2.5%. So $300,000 times 0.025, okay, is $7,500. That is the total commission. Whatever the split is with your brokerage, you can do the math, follow along with me. But let's say, like we did at the beginning, you're a brand new agent, you're getting tons of resources, you're getting a lot of help. So you agreed, 50-50 with your brokerage, that's what makes sense. So 50% of $7,500 is $3,750. That's how much you're gonna make on average from one sale of a home that on average is $300,000. You want to make $100,000, your average home sale price where you are is $300,000, you need to sell, on average, just over 2 homes, hopefully more, every single month to make that number. The more people you know and that know you as a real estate salesperson, the more leads you're going to generate, the better your chances are of getting those 2+ homes sold every single month. That is the business. There's obviously a whole lot more that goes into it. Maybe we'll do more videos like that. If you like this type of vlog, if you like this type of video where I just sit here at a desk and talk to your face,
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's go over some commission math problems. Before I do that, let me throw out the morning attendance poll for everybody. Boom. You know how it works. Just click on the word present. Okay. All right. So the question here, this is a simple math problem. I guess, you guys can use calculators, but this is a simple math problem, very similar questions you get to state exams. Let's see. It is more of a comprehension problem rather than a math problem. So it should be easy to figure out, but most people get it wrong because of the wording. So the wording is correct. There is not more than 100% of the pie, so just take that into consideration. Good idea is to annotate your math so that you basically write notes next to the numbers so you don't get lost in them, because there may be multiple steps to come up with the answer. Right next to the numbers, what that on your scrap paper, what that problem is. Or what that number is, so that you don't get lost in those figures. Because once again, this is a simple math problem, yet most people get it wrong. So remember, ask yourself a question about the question repeatedly to figure it out, to come to the solution here. So here's the question. A property sells for $325,000 and the total commission is 6%. If the listing agency gets 60% and the buyer's agent gets 60%, how much does the buyer's agency keep? Go. If you come up with the answer, just let me know. Don't say it though, and then I'm going to do the reveal. So, and then you can check your own math and see if you got it right. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody's got a chance to try to work it out. Okay. A property sells for $325,000. Total commission is 6%. If the listing agency gets 60% and the buyer's agent gets 60%, how much does the buyer's agency get to keep?
Could I shoot 7,100?
That would not be right.
No.
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
try.
But if you want to shoot it to me in the message. Make sure you select my name from the drop down though, so it doesn't go out to everybody. So everybody gets a chance to figure this out. Okay. Here, let's start out with this. Let's figure out what the total commission is in the first step. That's the first step here. 325,000 times 6%. That gives you 19,500. That's the total 6% commission.
Can I answer that?
Okay.
It's is it 3120?
Hold on. If you guys get an answer, message it to me. But no, I don't think that's it either. Okay. So let's see. So now the next question should be asking yourself to read this question again. So now that we know the total commission of 6% is 19.5, what is the question asking? If the listing agency gets 60%, you could stop right there and try to figure something out from there. Ask yourself a question about the question. If the listing agency is getting 60%, how much is left for the buyer's agency side of the transaction?
40%.
And that is?
That is 7,800.
Okay, so that's 60% times 19,500 times 60%. That gives you what the listing agency gets. If the other side's getting 40%, 40% times 19,500, that's 7,800. But what is that? That is the total 100% side of the commission that goes to the buyer's agency before they split with their agent. And what is their agent split that they're getting?
6%.
60%. 60%. So if the buyer's agent is getting 60% of that, how much is left for the buyer's agency to keep?
40%.
Okay, so 7,800. Okay, so this could be calculated in two ways. You could do 7,800 times the 60%, which is 4680 to the buyer's agent's commission, and then subtract that from the total 78 to get the answer of 3120. Or you could just take the 40%, times it by 7,800 to come up with the same answer. Okay, so two ways to get the same answer. Was that the number you had before, Sanchit? Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
Yeah.
All right. So that's how you come up to the answer. There's two ways to come up with it, but you got to reason through the problem, because they usually give you a math problem about commission that's worded very similar to this.
Can I ask you two questions? Sorry.
Sure.
Could you explain when is the difference that you know that you have to divide versus multiply? And then could you just go over the steps one more time? Not necessarily how.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you were to take the T formula for this, you could figure that out multiple times. You know, the large number goes on the bottom on one side and the percentage on the other side, right? So you multiply across, you divide down, multiply across, right? So there's a way to remember when to multiply and when to divide. So you're going to multiply anytime you're going to try to figure out the commission. And then if the listing agency gets 60%, now we just got to use our common sense. If the listing agency gets 60%, how much is left over for the other side? So you got to ask yourself a question about the question at this point. Stop and take it in edible chunks. Break down this question into small portions, okay? So if the listing agency gets 60%, stop. Okay, well, if the listing agency is getting 60%, ask myself a question about the question. That question is, how much does the other side get? Because there's only 100% of the pie, right? So if they're getting 60, there's 40% left over for the other side.
Right.
Okay, so that 40% of the 6%, though, that's the 100%. That's the total commission that gets to the buyer's agency before they're split with their agent. And then we continue reading the question, and it says, and the buyer's agent gets 60%. So if the buyer's agent's getting 60%, how much is left over for their agency to keep? The other 40. And now we're talking about that 7,800, which is the total 100% commission that goes to the buyer's side of the transaction, right? So now commissions usually don't work like this. Usually if the commission is 6%, 50% of that goes to the buyer side, 50% to the other side, right? It's not usually a breakdown like this of 60% or different amounts. It's usually split evenly. But keep in mind, the laws also changed that allow a property owner to say, I don't want you to split the commission. I don't want you sharing the commission because I don't want to pay for the buyer side of the commission. That's kind of stupid, though, to do, because then you're limiting your options of buyers that are out there, because they would have to come up with not just the down payment for the loan, but now they got to come up with an additional, say if it's 6%, they got to come up with an additional 3% of the cash in order to pay the commission to get to buy the house. So it essentially made that house more expensive. So despite what all the media pundits have been telling you in a year or two ago where they changed this law, and they're like, oh, they can't charge you 6% commission. They can charge you whatever the hell you want, whatever it's negotiated between the parties, right? But the thing is, the whole premise of this lawsuit is now that you could get some people that they don't have to pay the commission that then gets split because they could say, I don't want to pay the other side's commission. And it's a pretty dopey thing to do because now you're requiring buyers to come to the table with a lot more money. And therefore, that's limiting the amount of buyers out there, right? And they figured that, hey, that would chop off the realtors' commissions at the kneecaps, right? Because they wouldn't be able to charge as much commission anymore, would they? Well, no, they still could charge that property owner as much as they want. They could still charge them 6% if they want. Then they could charge the buyer commission on top of it separately. You know, it's whatever's negotiated between the parties, the real estate agent and the property owner. You know, and if they don't want to pay the total commission and allow it to be split, well, now you could also charge buyers because now everybody has to have uh, an agreement in writing about who's paying the commission. Can it be split? They need to have that agreement with the seller or the owner of the property and a buyer or renter, right? So everything's clear and in a contract. Okay. So anybody want to snap a picture of this or take a screenshot before I move on from this slide? Okay. Okay. It's got another question for you. Let's do some for calculating area. Okay, so I don't know. You may get a question on calculating area on your exams. So how many square feet are in an acre?
43560.
There you go, 43,560. And you remember that by drawing a comma and counting to 6, starting with 3, to the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. Okay, and then add a 0 on there for good luck. That's how you remember how many square feet are in an acre. Now, so there you go, 43,560. Okay, so now the question here is, if you have a 2.5 acre property that's 500 feet deep, and it sells for $1,000 per front foot, how much would the lot sell for? Now we're only counting full front feet, not partial feet. Nobody's going to give you $1,000 for a part of a foot. So we're not going to be figuring out fractions here. How wide is this lot? I want you to tell me that first. Now, how do we figure that out? Anybody got some ideas of this? And then I'll run through it here.
Yes, we will. May I?
Sure.
We will multiply 2.5 with the 43560 and we'll get
And then what does that tell you?
that's the total area of the land.
That's the total area of the land. So to figure out how many square feet in 2.5 acres, we take 43,560, the total number of square feet in 1 acre, and we multiply it by 2.5, right? That's what you're explaining to me, right? Okay. And so if that happens, there's a little explanation here. Front feet or frontage. Let's learn the terminology. Front feet or frontage is the width of the front of your property lot on the side facing the street. Unless it's a waterfront property, and then where's the frontage? Tells you right in the name, waterfront, right? Then the frontage is measured on the water side, the recreational side that has more value, right? If you have a beachfront, lakefront property, think it's going to be worth more than one that's facing a city street, right? Okay, so how do we figure this out? Sanchita was explaining 43,560 times 2.5. That gives you a total area of 108,900 square feet for the lot. Now, the question is, how much frontage do you have? How wide is the lot? Well, in order to do that, you have to divide the area by the one dimension that you have, and it'll give you the other side. So here you can look at this. So you'll have to divide. So 108,900 divided by 500 will give you the width of the frontage, which is 217.80.
Right.
But nobody's going to pay you $1,000 for less than a foot, right? It's only going for the full frontage. So we're going to round it down, okay, to 217 in this case. And If it's $1,000 per front foot, what's the next step?
Multiply it times 1,000.
5,000.
There you go. So 217 times $1,000. And that gives you a sale price of
217,000. No.
$217,000 to make you holla.
It'll make you holler. Yeah.
All right. Now, this isn't really the way that we value land, by the front footage. I mean, how much frontage you have can decide whether it's more desirable or not for your purpose. Like if you want to put up a strip mall, it's good to have, instead of a deep lot that's got a narrow frontage facing the road, it's good to have like a wider section so you got a big parking lot people can pull into, right? I mean, so the desirability factor can play a role into the value of it too. We don't just measure it though by the number, by the frontage, by a number. Okay, that's not really the way we value land. But that's the way we're doing it in this example, like they give possibly on exams. Okay, this is how we come to the answer. They just want to know if you could do some basic math, I guess, and then you use a calculator. All right, so if anybody got a screenshot of this, I can move on to the next one if you wanted this.
Uh,
Yeah.
One thing, you said it. We have rounded it off to 217. It should be 218, right?
No, we rounded it down because if you
Okay,
got
the area.
1,000, yeah, if you're
Okay,
going to pay me
understood.
$1,000 per front foot, and I don't give you a full foot, are you going to want to pay me $1,000 for it? No. So in this case, we round it down. Yeah.
Yeah, common sense. Yeah.
All right. So here's another problem. Math area. Let's see, subdivided lots. How many square feet in an acre? Once again, we need to know this number because they don't give it to us. If you have a 3-acre lot that can be subdivided into 50 by 100 minimum lot sizes. Okay. Anytime you see a lot like this, 50 by 100, that means it's 50 foot wide by 100 feet deep. The first number is always the frontage. And if you only have 2 numbers, that's letting you know that it's either a square or a rectangular shaped lot. Okay. Because if it has a little star next to it, that may mean that it's an odd shaped lot, or it could be a flag shape, or it could have just 3 numbers. If it's 3 numbers, it's like a triangular, or we call it a flag shaped lot. Okay. So how many lots can be made, and how much will the seller make if each lot sells for $150,000? Okay, well, first thing to figure out is what's the area? How many square feet in 3 acres?
Okay, so we're gonna multiply.
What are we going to do? Just walk me through the process. You don't need to give me the numbers. Just walk me through the process. What's the next step? Because I could care less about the numbers because you guys have calculators. You could type numbers in. I want you to know the process and understand the process. Okay. If you understand the process, the formulas, then the math is easy. You just stick it in the calculator. Okay. So what's the next step?
Multiply an acre times 3.
Okay, so 43,560 times 3, right?
Right.
And that gives us 130,680 square feet for this particular property.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what would be the next step that you would try to do to figure out the answer of this problem? I want us to
multiply width into length. That will give 5,000.
I'm sorry,
Lot
what are you doing?
sizes. Lot sizes. We will.
Okay.
We have to figure out the lot sizes. We will multiply 50 into 100. That will give us 5,000.
Okay, so
Square
each
feet.
50 by, so what you're saying is each 50 by 100 lot is 5,000 square feet, right?
Yes.
So you take 50 times 100, that gives you 5,000, right?
Yes.
So that's correct. So figure out the area of a 50 by 100 lot, 50 times 100. You see, as I'm revealing this, it's giving the same instructions that you just gave. I just want to walk through everybody, let everybody know which step, what we're doing each and every step here, okay? So that we figured out it's 5,000 square feet. Now, what would be the next step?
Now we will divide 13680 square feet by 5,000 to get the lot numbers.
Correct. To figure out how many lots, how many 5,000 square foot lots are there in 130,680 square feet. Correct. So that's the next step. And we do that by dividing 130,680 divided by 5,000 square foot. That gives us 26.14. Okay. Well, we only have 26 lots. Okay. We're not selling a 0.14. So somebody's going to have a little bit extra land. Okay, a little more than 50 by 100, or leave that for maybe a road or something, you know. Okay, so let's just work it that way. So how many lots we got? We got 26 lots out of the deal. And if each lot sells for $150,000,
Multiply by 26.
there you go. You multiply it by 26. 150,000 times 26 gives you, drum roll please, a lot of do re mi. 3.9 million.
3.9.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. That's about New Jersey prices there. Just for a vacant lot, wooded lot, $3.9 million for 3 acres. I guess it depends where you are in New Jersey, but New Jersey has the most expensive land in the United States. Did you know that? We are the not the smallest state, but pretty close to it. We are definitely the most densely populated state. We have more people in a small area. And here's a little interesting factoid. I'm full of useless information like this. Even though we're the most densely populated state, the majority of our state is unpopulated. That sounds pretty good for developers, right? But not for the conservationists. You know, we have a lot of forest land here. We have actually the largest stretch of untouched prehistoric land in the United States on the East Coast, second to Florida. But then again, a lot of their untouched land is swampland and, you know, a lot of gators and such, you know, but we have a lot of dangerous critters in ours too. Anybody ever been to the Pine Barrens, the Pine Lands? No? You guys should discover what we have here in the state of New Jersey. We have a lot of stuff to see, a lot of sights. We have a lot of forestry. All right, so let's do another math problem. Calculating the area of a square or a rectangle, we need to remember that the opposite side is of equal length. So here's a problem for you. If you have a room that measures 14 by 20 feet in size, what is the area? Well, multiply one side by the length and you'll get the total area.
280 square feet.
280 square feet. Okay, that wasn't so bad, was it? I know some people get scared of math. They start to hyperventilate when I say the word math. So I just want to ease everybody. I'm not sure where everybody stands right here with math, but this is where we're at. Okay, we need to be comfortable figuring out these numbers. Okay. Yeah. That was simple, wasn't it? Look at that. I even wrote that on the slide. Simple, wasn't it? Before we move into something a little more complicated. Okay, so now we're going to calculate the area of a square or rectangle. We need to remember the opposite sides are of equal length. So how do we figure out the area of this building or room? All right. We got side A here, we don't know the measurement, and side B that we don't know the measurement. We need to figure out what is the length of sides A here and B here. So what would be your approach?
14. One side is 28 and another side is half is 14. So 28 minus 14 will be 14.
So we do 28. This is the whole length over here, 28, and we minus 14 over here, and that should give us the balance of this area, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, looks like I did the other one first. I figured out A first. We figured out B just there. Okay, so you do the same thing on this side. You take the whole length, 30 feet over here, and we have the length over here is 20. So 30 minus 20,
Would be 10.
that gives us 10 right there, right?
Yeah.
And there we go, because the two opposite sides should be of equal length, right? So 30 feet is the total length. We know that this partial length is 20. 30 minus 20 will give us the remainder of this. So A is equal to 10 feet. And then we already figured out that for B, we took 28 minus the 14, and that gave us B, which was 28 minus 14 is 14 feet. Okay. So another way to look at that is this. What is the total area of this room? Okay, so this is, we got all the dimensions filled in here now. Okay, so now that we got all the dimensions filled in, how do we figure out the area? Because on the previous slide, I showed you how do we figure out the dimension, the length of a wall when when it's not given to us. Okay. By the way, if you guys want a snap picture of this, you go ahead. This is figuring out the length of the sides, the walls, without them giving us that figure. And then the next problem is going to be, okay, well, now that we figured those numbers out, what's the total area of this L-shaped room? Okay, so
840 square feet.
well, hold on. Let's take a look. Let's break it down. So, what is the step to figure this out? Well, to solve, if the opposite sides are equal length, break the L-shaped room into two sections by drawing an imaginary line first, which we're going to see in red in a second. And now it's easier to calculate the area of the two separate sections and then add them together. So you see this imaginary line I just drew over here, that red line? Now we could see, okay, we got one room here and one room here, okay? So we could see that this side is 14 and this side is 10. That means that this side will be 10 as well, and this side will be 14, right?
Oh, wait a minute.
And then you do the same thing down for this room. Okay, forget about the long length. We got this short one, okay? So because we're trying to figure out this area. So if this side's 14, then this side will be 14. If this side is 30, then this side will be 30. So you just multiply the two sides to figure out the area of this.
Are you multiplying length times width for the area?
Yep.
So 14 times 30.
Yeah, in this area, it's 14 times 30, and for this area, it's 10 times 14. See, because the opposite side is equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do section one first. 10 times 14. It's 140 square feet in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And then to figure out this area, well, this is 14 feet. So that means from here to the red line down, it's 14 feet. And this is 30 feet. So then this whole side is 30. So just do 14 times 30.
420.
And that's 420.
And then we'll add them two together, and that'll be 560. Yes.
You add them two together, and that's 560. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Breaking down the problems, making them easy. That's my job. Okay. So giving you these visualizations hopefully helps. I know it's a little more helpful when it's interactive rather than those you just look at the picture of it already filled out like this. But if you do want to snap a picture of it, do so. Or if you want to take a screenshot, okay, this is how we break it down. All right. Because you may get questions like this on exam. They used to give a lot of questions like this on exam. I don't think they give that many anymore, if any at all. But it's good to know how to measure a room size being in the real estate business, right? All right. So now let's calculate the area of a triangle. Oh, getting harder now. Not that much. Because to solve this, a triangle is basically half of a square, right? Or a rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
So if this side's 15 feet, what would the other side be 15 feet if we drew that imaginary line like I just did? Right? Imagine the square or rectangle. And so if one side's 15 feet, the other side's, if one side's 20, the other side's 20. So 15 times 20.
It's 300.
Uh-huh. But that would be the area for
Divided
the
by 2.
whole
Divided by 2
rectangle, right?
is
So you
100.
divide it by 2. That's right.
Yeah, 100.
So you divide it in half, divide it in 2, and that gives you 150 square feet. Easy peasy, nice and easy, right?
Yeah.
Is that a rule of thumb for triangles to divide by 2?
Yep, because a triangle is basically, if you could see, we drew these imaginary line to make it into a box, whether it's a square or a rectangle, and a triangle will be half of a square or a rectangle.
Mm, mm.
You know,
Okay.
Yep, that's it. Okay, so that was the last one I had for there. Okay. Maybe I should have done one of a trapezoid too, where you add the two sides, then you divide it by 2, and then you multiply it by the other side, and it gives you the answer. I should put one there for a trapezoid too. I don't think they're going to get that complicated on the exams. All right, so that's it for that math on chapter 1 there. But I added those recently. What do you think about those? You find them a little helpful? Those slides with the interactive math like that, walking you through step by step, or
Definitely.
Yes.
good, good. So I did not have them there previously. I added them. You know, if you were to compare these slides compared to the ones that the book manufacturer gave us, you know, there's like no information in that. You know, it's mostly the instructor. You got to rely on the instructor talking to you. Oh, what the hell? Why is this not being recorded? Oh, okay, because we're starting chapter 2 right now. Okay, here we go. Was I recording all that math or no? Damn it, I hope I was. All right, so, well, either way. Yeah, I
It
was.
was, yeah, it was recorded.
Yeah, okay.